I want to introduce you to this gentleman right here. So this young glass of charged water is a guy named Lynn Jeffrey Kirk. Now, this picture was taken in Thailand. We had just arrived in Chuk Samet, Thailand, and we were moving gear off the boats to get on land, and you can't really see it, but back here, there's somebody in a blue shirt, and then right past there is me. I am 19 years old, right there. A young baby Roscoe. Everywhere I went with the military, where it allowed, the platoon commanders were very good about, because it's always about morale, right? Like, we have a job to do, we got a mission to do, we got things we got to take care of and look out for each other, but morale is part of that puzzle. So, me being me and doing what I do, I was always very good about trying to keep morale up. So I told stories and I acted out movies. It was exactly as you'd expect. A part of that was always they let me bring my guitar when it was possible, right? So I'll never forget, kind of anywhere we were, if I had a moment to, or if I had a chance to, we had some downtime, I would take my guitar and I would kind of go off a little bit, or I'd hang out with the guys over and just kind of jam a little bit, and guys would have conversations, tell stories about home and all kind of stuff. And Kirk was always really great about, if I was by myself or if I was in a hallway somewhere and I'm just kind of jamming around and I'm just playing tunes, like I don't tend to play other people's music. I always just kind of freestyle and just play what I feel, or I write my own stuff. Kirk would come sit next to me. And what you have to know about Kirk is this picture is so perfect of him, because he's very like just kind of there. There's not much of an expression. That's Kirk. He has this super low voice and he's very like, Dog, are you going to play music or what? I mean, he doesn't sound like Sean Penn in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but he's just very, I'm going to eat a sandwich. And then he goes over here and he eats said sandwich. I've returned from sandwich. He is your stereotypical jarhead Marine. He is in like robot mode. Okay. Now, this works for him because what's really incredible about Kirk is that he's a PT stud. This cat can run 3 miles in 16 minutes. He can do 20 dead hang pull-ups and still have juice left at the end, and then 100 sit-ups in like a minute. Okay, he's a monster. He was just one of those guys. He was a rock star. So with Kirk, what I always appreciated was I'd be sitting there and kind of playing music, and Kirk would come up and he would sit there, and me kind of explaining a little bit of his personality. You can understand how surprised I was when he sat down next to me. He didn't say anything. I'm just kind of playing along, and he would, after a few minutes of me playing, like no conversation, just kind of playing, he would go, Dog, you know what I saw when you just played that song? What's that? And he would lay out this whole like scene. Yeah, like I saw the ocean, and there's kind of this boat on the ocean, and there's like 2 people in it. And you can tell from the beginning that they're kind of fighting. Like, you don't know how that you know this, but you know they're fighting. But then as the song kind of goes, like the storm kind of lets up, the waves kind of settle down, and then by the end, the sun is out, and now they've just kind of like facing each other. And you know that maybe the fight's not resolved, but there's hope. And I'd be like, damn, where the hell did that come from? You literally just said 18 minutes ago, I'm going to enjoy said sandwich. And then you came out with that. So that's Kirk. And that was always something that he would do. And I, for some reason, like before he started doing that, I never really saw things that way. I would write music about what I felt and about emotions I was going through, about love, about loss, and all that kind of stuff. But I never saw things that I remember the way that Kirk did. So I got out of the military, and Kirk stayed in. And I'll never forget, I think I'd been out for I must have been out of the military for 6 months. I'm sitting in a Barnes and Noble, and I'm sitting in a big comfy chair. I'm reading a book, and all of a sudden I feel this monster of a hand hit me on my arm, just like rocked me. And I looked up, and there's Kirk, and I'm like, bro, I haven't seen you in like 3 years. What do you? And we caught up. And he said, yeah, I'm staying in. We're going to be deploying soon. We got this, we got that. I said, all right, man, well, stay safe. Good luck out there. And it was good seeing you. We'll have to catch up when you come back. And then Kirk went. They had just gotten married. I think they might have had a kid on the way. I can't remember. But that was the point. We caught up with Kirk. It was nice to see him again. And even after years of not seeing him, as soon as I saw his face, all those memories of sitting in that hallway was him doing that, right? Him kind of having that gift that really opened my eyes to just maybe how we have ideas of people and we have perceptions and stuff. And so fast forward, it was probably, I don't know, 2003. I want to say it was maybe summer of 2003. I got a phone call that Kirk had been killed in combat. And while Kirk and I were friends, we were teammates, we were buddies. He was actually my spotter when I went through, I'll say sniper school. It wasn't sniper school, but it was like that. He was my spotter. So like, I'm the shooter with the gun. He's the one with the spotting scope, and he's helping me track distance and all that kind of stuff. So, and what I have to tell you, the funniest thing about Kirk is he does not know how to whisper. So here we are, the two of us in a bush in the middle of like a big military installation where Navy sailors are walking around. We're in this bush together, just cuddling in this bush. I've got the gun on and it's a training evolution. So I got this gun on the branch in the bush. He's next to me. He's got his spotting scope up. We're watching this building and we're trying to call back to comms about like, okay, we're on the north side, yellow 521, blah, blah, blah. And freaking Kirk is on the radio and he's got an earpiece and he's got the thing and he's like, yeah, we're at 200 yards away. I'm like, psst. There's people 10 yards away, dude. Sorry. He just did not know how to whisper. Amazing. And he slept with his eyes open. And I don't mean like they're just kind of cracked. I mean like, yeah, creepy as hell. That was Kirk. So I got the word that he'd passed away, which was crushing, of course. But years later, a couple years later, after I got the word and names kept coming of guys we had to say goodbye to, I started playing guitar again, and I kept thinking about Kirk. And just out of nowhere one day, I decided to just do like I used to do. I'm going to do a little freestyle for Kirk, like the old days. And this was 13 years ago. So I turned on the camera and I played this little 3.5 minute song, just like we used to do in the hallway. I'm just going to play something and just see what Kirk comes up with out into the void. And I called this song Kirk's Ideology, a tribute. And at the time it said tribute to Jeff Kirk. I'm going to play it for you just to round out the story. I'm working it out in my head. So I played that song. Like I said, and then when I say I'm working it out in my head, I don't mean the song. I mean, like, I'm thinking about all those days and nights in the hallway and playing for Kirk. And I knew when I played that afterwards I would get to hear what he had to say. I get to hear what I produced, and then he had a whole story for that was coming. But something as I was going through this, when I say I'm working it out in my head, it means I'm feeling this moment, and I know that when I finish this song, he's not going to be there to tell me what the story was, right? So there's that, okay? But the reason I wanted to play this for you, so you could kind of understand a little bit of the context, was that, like, I threw this on YouTube. I didn't have any subscribers except for, like, my mom, my best friend, you know, like 2 people, nobody. I threw it out there, and completely out of nowhere, after maybe a year, I get an email, or maybe it was a comment. I can't remember. I got a message, I think it was an email from somebody that said, "We found your video on YouTube. Jeff," or they said Lynn is our son. It was a beautiful tribute. He must have meant a lot to you. So we have some stuff we'd like to send you. And I was like, okay. And they sent this screenshot, or I think it was like a fax or something, a screenshot of a fax or something, of like an article from when we were in Yokosuka and we did the tug of war against the Japanese Defense Force, right? So his parents somehow, I guess because I called it tribute to Jeff Kirk, and they said, well, his first name was actually Lynn. He didn't like to go by that, but that's his first name. So I changed it to Lynn Kirk. And so if you remember not too long ago when we talked about tug of war, and I showed you the medal of the gold medal that we had from the Olympics that we did, the Marines against the Japanese Defense Force, the tug of war, that medal is actually Kirk's, not mine. I didn't still have mine. So his family, when they found the video, they thought it was such a nice tribute to him. They said, you should have this. And they actually asked, were you in Yokosuka with him? And I said, I was. And they said, okay, we have something for you. So they sent me that, and that has become part of the collection. So really, all in all, the reason I wanted to kind of share this tonight was because the same way, like, we have all these little bumpers, and, you know, we have our little segments that we do and inside jokes that we have. And it all kind of creates this big story that becomes part of my journey, part of your journey, and then part of other people's journey. And I think that's really special. And with that, I don't think this all would have even been possible if I did not have that experience with Kirk in the hallways back in the military, where he just sat down with me one day and said, here's what I see. I don't know if I ever would have started thinking that. I mean, maybe I would have. I don't know. Because I was always a storyteller, but I don't know, man. Like, he got me to think in a different way than I was at the time. So I felt like that was kind of appropriate, and it felt like the right thing to do for tonight, because I feel like it's all tied together pretty good. Yeah. So it's not the usual like goofy hiding in a wall locker story or something, but it is a very significant part of my story. And in ways that we can, I think it's important for us to honor people that we've said goodbye to and the way that they affected and impacted our lives. So I hope you enjoyed.